So Risk of Rain 2 just had a new DLC pack released, right around the 4-year anniversary of the initial release of the game. Seekers of the Storm up there in the corner. And people hate it. Absolutely revile it. 80% negative reviews on your Steam there. The overall rating of Risk of Rain 2 has dropped 50% in the week since this game has come out. Since the DLC has come out. My personal opinion is that it's fine. More or less fine. But we'll talk about some of the specific reasons people despise it. Some of them are blown out of proportion. A lot of them are very reasonable and understandable. Anyway, comes with a new character. Multiple new characters. One of them happens to be Bender here. And there's a third new character behind the door in silhouette. Bachelor number 3. Don't have that one unlocked, so maybe I'll get it later. Probably not. Let's at least try the character that is unlocked simply by purchasing the pack. The Seeker. Titular character of the DLC. Who is a cyberpunk future monk. Which is honestly a pretty good title to have. I don't know why the derelict ship that we were on, all the survivors come from, had a monk on it. All the other roles more or less make sense. You got an engineer, you got an artificer, various types of soldiers, and now a monk. The monk's default attack is basically identical to that of the artificer. You throw big fireballs. The difference being that the third one is like a giant fireball that does a lot more damage. And like stuns and stuff. And I think the range might be limited, whereas the artificer does not have limited range. Gonna be a bunch of new items. This is not a new item at all, but it is a good item. Well, I guess it's time we saw the Seeker's true gimmick. The special move is a rhythm game. Every time we complete the rhythm game, it gives us 1 petal of the flower. Up to 7 petals. It also damages nearby enemies, heals you and allies. I believe you get a protective damage reduction shield during the minigame. Pretty sure that's what the big orb around us is. I've done limited testing on the subject. It's moderately obnoxious. You have to do this 7 times per floor because it does reset each time we leave a floor. That is the big unique thing about the Seeker, though. And when you get to the 7th level of Serenity, I think it's called, that is when you resurrect all nearby allies and do some other silly-ass thing that really only matters in multiplayer. But also, it's bugged to hell and does not work properly at all when you reach that 7th level. A lot of people are down patching because the DLC did come with a required patch, even if you didn't purchase the DLC, which has caused a tremendous amount of glitches. Just an out-of-control number of glitches. Few, if any of them, have been corrected as of this moment. Also, it is technically my birthday. I'm not sure what technical means because it is literally my birthday, but yeah, thank you. I just don't really celebrate my birthday, but I do gotta milk it because it's September. ever thought about signing up for Twitch emotes, this is the time to do it. Probably should ought to get faster. So yeah, I think the main thing that has caused just such a huge backlash is all the glitches introduced by the required patch. Like Acrid, his utility skills no longer work. They don't do damage. There are certain weapons, certain items, that if you pick them up and you take them to the final boss, there's a phase where the final boss steals your items. During that phase, when the boss steals those items, he becomes invincible. You are soft-locked. You cannot beat the game. That still has not been corrected. The very first time I booted up this game after purchasing the DLC, my character fell through the floor for the first time that has ever happened. This game is extremely stable, or at least it was, until the release of Seekers of the Storm. That time I unleashed another one of this character's abilities, and immediately waste it. We have the ability to, at will, transform into a fireball, which is one of the artifacts normally. This character just has it innately, but with a drawback. Still, it's a pretty cool form of movement, which I should use more frequently. Really, I should be done with this floor, and also, there was a new feature that I noticed on the very first starting platform, which would have allowed me to complete this level very, very, very quickly had I used that feature. And instead, I'm playing a relatively normal version of the game so far. We haven't seen any new items, so I guess I should start recycling the items that we get. Like this one. Turn it into a worse item. Lucky me. But yeah, if you were to play this game now, DLC or no, you would, without a doubt, experience numerous glitches. I've seen plenty of enemies just fall through the floor and become unkillable. Like, get wedged within geometry that you cannot possibly access. Corpse Bloom. I forget exactly what that does. Probably shouldn't risk it. What I should do is more mini-games. Your skills, all of them, increase in efficacy and appear to fire significantly faster the higher your Serenity level is, so you really have to fill up that flower. It is sort of like getting a free item every time you do the minigame. That's kind of cool. Don't have many complaints about that. Also, our fourth ability, you didn't get a good look at it there. It is a gigantic psychic uppercut. Bam. Fist right out of the floor. Honestly, that is amazingly cool. To me, that makes up for any shortcomings of this character. How simply cool that ability is. Now, I mean, this is a perfectly fine character. It's a little uninspired. Doesn't make a lot of sense thematically for the game. Nonetheless, pretty cool. I'm gonna re-roll this Corpse Bloom in case it's got potential to be something better. Not really. But if I don't get hit, I will gain a lot more money. People have a lot of complaints about this whole studio ever since they got bought out by Gearbox. And apparently they are a pretty bad publisher. Though it is entirely possible they are right to be so upset. But again, I know very little about behind-the-scenes drama. I just know that the DLC itself, mostly I'm interested in the items and the characters, playable characters. The items are a mixed bag. There's a lot more of them than there were in the previous DLC, Survivors of the Void. I gained $2 ultimately because Brittle Crown costs you money based on the amount of damage you take. Sort of made that not worth it. There we go. The minigame killed that particular enemy. It's kind of funny. Saw us doing DDR and drop dead. Really, you should immediately do all 7 Serenities as soon as your cooldowns are up. Which makes the beginning of every floor pretty tedious, quite honestly. What I would want to do if I were playing this character is play it in multiplayer and not be the one, like, on stream. Like, this would be fun if I didn't have to show you the minigame every time. And apparently get 1 free resurrection per level. A lot of the DLC features are intended for multiplayer. They make the multiplayer a little bit better, a little bit more reasonable. Which it sort of needs to be. When I've played multiplayer in this game, it has actually been much harder than single player. And single player is really hard to begin with. I'm about to die because Greater Wisps suck. They always have sucked, though. That is a Risk of Rain tradition. I haven't input a wrong direction during the minigame. But if you do, all that happens is your time available drops quite a bit. I also don't think the minigame gets harder the higher level Serenity you're going for. So, yeah. None of the things you would think would be implemented to give the minigame any degree of challenge are there. Which is good, because I don't like rhythm games where you just press directions in the intended order. Like playing Guitar Hero on controller, which you can do. As big of a nerd as I was for Guitar Hero, never really put up with that. Uppercut that guy. But because the rhythm game is so easy, really the only thing that can cause you to fail is getting distracted by being in too much danger at any given time. And since it does damage, you will probably want to use it in combat occasionally. It does damage around like a wide area. So during, for example, the teleporter event, it can be strategically smart to use the Serenity Explosion feature. This is good stuff. Maybe I'll replace all of my items with just porcupine hats. I'm always tempted to go to Shrines of Blood, even when I know the current item loadout means I would literally gain no money from it. There we go, level 7 Serenity. If any of my allies have been dead at this time, they would come back to life. I just realized our giant uppercut is not actually an original move, it is what the Stone Titan does. It's just not normally a player-facing move. Shuriken could be very useful. As being a character that does exclusively ranged attacks. The aiming on our energy orb seems weird. My first few times playing this character, I would always aim way too high. The orb seems to generate slightly above the character's head and maintain that arc. So you need to aim a little bit low if you actually want to hit stuff. Shuriken is actually doing a lot of work so far. I do believe that there is some, like, range around the orb where it does damage, just like radiating damage, which is kind of a neat feature. Like, it seems if you fire the orb into a crowd, it will damage everybody and explode when it hits its range limit. Although if you get a direct hit, it also explodes on that enemy, so use it wisely. Also, I have 100 lunar coins. I have finally beaten the game. After 200 hours. The longest I've ever spent on any roguelike that I didn't just give up on. I finally beat the game one time. And that was before Seekers of the Storm came out. Which is kind of bragging rights, because Seekers of the Storm added some items that can be used to imbalance the game. And since the DLC came out, I have been able to beat the game somewhat consistently using only the Artifact of Command. Is one of the meta items you can use to alter the nature of the game entirely. Artifact of Command is the most powerful of the artifacts, because it has no downside and a huge upside. And using that, I've been able to create absolutely busted builds pretty reliably and beat the game on Monsoon. Could not do that before purchasing the DLC. However, the characters from the previous DLC, Survivors of the Void, they were what made me able to beat the final boss of the main game. The annoying thing about Greater Wisps is how much damage they do when they hit you, which is a lot. There was actually a new item there, and I opted not to purchase it because a lot of the new items are bad. It's like 50-50. Really cool new items, and then there's a bunch of new items that are really cool and extremely broken, like way too powerful. That gets rerolled into something similarly bad. And then there's a bunch that are sort of useless. But the last DLC was honestly kind of similar. So I really don't fault it for that, personally. A lot of other people do. Because, like, Delicate Watch was from the previous DLC. I hate Delicate Watch. If you drop below, like, half health, the watch breaks and no longer does anything. And you just have a useless lump in your inventory, knocking you. I'm doing shoddy damage right now because I haven't set up any Serenities. I have not shouted Serenity now, even once. And I'm being punished. It's a weirdly designed character because you are explicitly underpowered until you do all this thing, all that ability over and over again. which is totally free to do, but it wastes so much time. If you were to ever speedrun this game, this is your last choice. You would never opt to do it with this character. Guy's chewing through my health, which is also my money. And that's where I draw the line. Having bad items in a roguelike is, you know, a classic thing. Since Binding of Isaac, you've expected a certain percentage of items to be bad. And weird and complicated to the point of being situational. And often situational in ways that you would never find yourself in that situation. Now, I don't have any damage, which is my own fault. We're not doing this. Maybe if I get a few bandolier drops, I'll basically get to Serenity this guy to death. I should use my Fireball more often, although your Fireball drains you if you get if you stay in Fireball form for too long, you start losing health rapidly. And then you get one-shot by the Grove Tenter. So that's the Seeker. Relatively fun character, super annoying gimmick. That minigame thing. I get sick of the Seeker fast. So I unlocked the Chef. The Chef came from Risk of Rain Returns, the remake of the original 2D Risk of Rain, which is also in 2D, came out earlier this year. And Risk of Rain Returns is pretty good. Basically the same Risk of Rain with some quality of life features. And the Chef is, like I said, it's Bender. Bender without legs for some reason. Just a rolling pin instead of legs. Apparently people complain about the Chef being extremely underpowered. I think a lot of its moves are currently glitched. We have 3 cleavers, and they like boomerang back, but you have to hit the button to make them return. So basically 2 of the cleavers never get used for some reason. The cleavers are not really why you're going to play as Bender. You get to vomit oil on things. And I think there was a stone golem somewhere nearby. I think they got on the bounce pad and accidentally ran away. I cannot demonstrate my other skills right now. Roll of pennies. Another item from the previous DLC. Okay, stone golem, I hear him. Puke oil on it. And then we actually belch fire. Literally exactly the thing that Bender does nonstop in Futurama. I kind of love it. So even if this character is underpowered, which it is, it's cool. I like the Chef. And its gimmicks of cooking enemies and turning them into food, they make a lot more sense here in Risk of Rain 2 than they did in Risk of Rain Returns. I could never really crack how to play as the Chef in Risk of Rain Returns. Probably would if I played it a bunch more, but was not incentivized the way I am with this character. Simply because of how much I like the flavor of it. The Oil Blast, for some reason, is our most damaging attack by far. Getting hit with just the oil hurts everyone much, much more than getting hit with a face full of fire. And cleavers, for that matter. Impaling cleavers. Grab some more items. Definitely running a little low. I didn't find the alternate weird thing. Even though I'm pretty sure it is on the first floor. Most, if not every time. As long as you have the DLC. So I think I just didn't look in the right places, but you can't really prove a negative, so it's entirely possible that it simply isn't there. The only way to prove that it isn't there would be to cover every square inch of the entire level, which I am not willing to do, because that would be more tedious than doing my minigame over and over again. So we got shoddy items and Bender dropped dead. Gonna blame the items, because it is easy to do so. Although, honestly, I've played as the chef quite a few times, and it is an abnormally difficult character to get up and running. But there were a lot of characters in the base game that were also very difficult to get a run started. I definitely don't think the chef is any less powerful than, like, Rex, the flower robot. Probably more powerful than Acrid now that half of Acrid's attacks don't work. But that is supposed to be fixed. They are working on a new patch to undo a lot of the glitches. We'll see if that prevents people from falling through the floors and stuff. But I have a strong feeling that in time, once the glitches have been cleared up, people will no longer have such a negative opinion of this DLC. Because the content of it is, in the majority, fine to actually really good. There's nothing about this DLC that I think makes the game worse in any way. The worst features are just things you can and should ignore. If you don't like the new characters, don't play as them. Blood. Must drain my robot blood. Put it in my wallet. Still not finding the Midas portal thingy. Getting weird that I only saw it the one time. Okay, Bandolier could be useful because it will allow me to spam my oil. If I get a little bit lucky with drops. Now, a lot of our attacks are kind of close range. But only kinda. We have surprising range with our fire belch. But low recharge rate on our attacks. Let's keep at it. Bender is great, I have been assured, so gonna have to break through sooner or later. I want to at least show you the alternate levels and show you where the character, the chef, was unlocked in the first place. Although I might have to do that with a different character, ironically enough. You may have noticed that when we kill enemies with fire and oil, it's supposed to be fire and oil. You're supposed to oil them up and then sear them with the fire attack. That is when they drop health refills. It seems like if you hit them with either and then kill them, free health refills. But due to a glitch, you have to physically touch the health refills to get any health recovery going. One last try with the chef. We'll see where we end up. We got good starting chests, but no ability to open them yet. There were a bunch of items implemented with Survivors of the Void that helped you get a run started faster, but you had to get the items in the first place. Basically, they helped you acquire more money more quickly. This DLC has one item like that. But it is a green item, and we gotta get it first. That is not it. I've always been annoyed by you start out with not enough money to buy much of anything. You just gotta wait for enemies to spawn during the part of the game where they spawn the least frequently. So the first, 2 minutes of every single run are just waiting for the enemies to actually show up. In Risk of Rain Returns, when you killed the enemies by cooking them, and then you ate the food, you would gain a buff in addition to recovering HP. That is not the case here, just everything they drop is health recovery. Seemingly the same amount of health recovery. It just looks graphically a bit different. Well, my only item so far is Masochistic. I deal damage anytime I get hit. This character is not very hardy, so I don't want to get hit too many times. But another Masochistic item. I gain superpowers when I am at very low health. So crowd control is bad with this character. Honestly, this character has no strengths. None whatsoever. Some, single target damage because of the explosion with the oil attack. Like that. But other characters do that much, much more easily. And like Rex, who I said is less powerful than this guy, Rex is a big-time healing class. This is a very small-time healing class. The HP stuff we drop is pretty pathetic. They might buff that in the future. Wouldn't be surprised. As of right now, they have done nothing at all to fix the numerous glitches. They're just working out a big patch to fix as many as they can all at once. Can I beat a boss? I could probably beat the Stone Titan. Stone Titan is the least dangerous. But I don't seem to know where he is. They did add a bunch of quality of life features with the required patch. Among them being that the sparklies around the teleporter, they scale based on how far away you are from the teleporter. So if you're really far away, they are extremely large sparkles, which actually helps quite a bit in finding where the teleporter is. That's a cool move. I fully approve of that. Cook the Titan. He's the weakest boss. It's almost difficult to lose to the Titan. They also made it so that if you see the teleporter at any point, like you physically walk up to it and touch it, it will be on your radar from that point onwards, even if you leave the area to go and like look for more chests or something. And the other quality of life features actually don't really impact anything as far as I can tell. They're well-meaning and you can adjust them to your liking, but they do very little. They did dramatically improve menu navigation if you were on controller, though, which I like because I am on controller. Used to be that you could only use the analog stick. Get anywhere in any menu, including the Artifact of Command menu, where you choose from like 25 different items while enemies are attacking you and the game doesn't pause. And you have to do that with an analog stick. And it's pretty sensitive, so sometimes you get like a rebound and bounce to an item you did not choose. I've made many, many misplays. But now you can use the D-pad. And that works properly. Okay, this is 2 new items. One of which is one that I kind of like. So when I get $100, I'll buy it. I've always liked that the economy of this game is in dollars. We're on a foreign world, but we still use American currency. Crash landed on a planet we've never even heard of before. Okay. Noxious Thorn. Taking damage, chance to trigger active enemy debuffs. That means nothing. I have absolutely no idea what that nonsense was, but what it really means for us is that when we take damage, the enemy that damaged us has a chance of taking bleed. So basically it is a good complement to the razor wire that we already have. If I could get something in the way of defending myself, I'd be in a good position to be a character who just sits around, takes damage, and makes enemies hurt themselves to death. Which is a strategy I employ frequently as Loader, my favorite character, because Loader has by far the highest starting health and armor. Gave me some money, some much needed money. Somehow missed absolutely everybody. I think we're supposed to be like cooking people in motor oil because we're simultaneously a robot and a bad chef. And we can run people over with our rolling pin. There we go. Enemies that hit us, they start bleeding out. Bleed damage is still kind of pathetic, but it is a supplement to the stop hitting yourself build. So I kind of like it. Here's a new item that tends to be useless. Enemies are knocked into the air on hit. Notably, it doesn't happen 95% of the time. That might be a programming error. And when it does happen, Who cares? Rarely, if ever, do I need enemies to be in the air. The Seeker has a challenge that requires you to kill enemies while they are airborne. Maybe it could help with that if it actually worked. I kind of figured it was like a thing that had to proc. But when things are random, it does tell you on the item when you pick it up. Chance on hit to do stuff. Doesn't say that on this item. So either the wording is bad or the item just doesn't work properly. The new common items that were implemented, I think that's where they implemented the most new items, and they are mostly bad. Oh, we've only seen the one. Jellyfish just don't know where they're going. Oh, I activated the teleporter when I guess I should have gone to the blue portal. My fault. With 100 lunar coins, I could really go to town inside the blue portal, but I do have a consolation prize over here. We get... Defiant Gouge, eh? 3 enemies when you summon a shrine. Or use a shrine of any sort. These blind enemies are so annoying. For one thing, they are not functionally blind in any meaningful way. That's not a mechanic, that's just a name. And for another, they are high damage, high HP, and they have an awkward flight pattern where they bounce up and down, making them much harder to hit. They're really a test of whether or not you're playing on controller. They were added in the previous DLC, and I hate them. But there were 3 new enemies added in the new DLC that I kind of hate as well. Especially the child. The child from original Risk of Rain has finally been added to Risk of Rain 2, and it's really annoying. We'll find it eventually. So there's a new starting level, and then there's an entirely new path of levels that lead to a new end boss. And after this run, I will switch to a character that I know for a fact I can get pretty deep into the game with, and look at those new levels. And then we'll hear the new music. There are 0 complaints about the new music. As usual, the game's composer, Chris whatever. A name that I always get wrong because it has way, way, way more vowels than I expect. He did it again. So that's something to look forward to. One of my challenges as the chef is to cook 10 bison. Specifically bison. Have to be made to drop food items. And I assume it has to be done in a single run. Prayer Beads is a new item. Item stores experience and gives stats on item removal. So I think this is just a detriment until you come across, like, something that gets rid of green items. I think that's how it works. punishment item. So I guess we are praying to the Catholic God with these prayer beads. Sticky Bomb, still one of the worst items in the entire game. And that's vanilla. Anything else of value around here? Not really. My damage has really fallen off. So I absolutely have to rely on my special and my flame belch. Gilded enemies. We've seen a few, but I haven't really commented on them. They simply have extremely high HP and deal a lot of damage. They also look really cool. But if a particularly dangerous enemy type gets gilded, your run is probably over. There's not a ton you can do about it. Delicate Watch is gone. Missed it already. One of my few things that was giving me any damage. And then, yeah, Old War Stealth Kit. I had, like, nothing giving me more damage. Just the syringe. Yeah. So, let's start cheating. Sort of. What I mean by that is simply using the Artifact of Command. That way I can force myself to acquire the new item types. Really show off some good stuff. And Loader is just devastatingly overpowered. I love Loader. It's Ellen Ripley from Aliens. Where's the first Alien where she gets in the big heavy suit? It's been way, way, way too long since I've seen those movies. I was a huge fan of Alien, the entire franchise, when I was a little kid. Like, extremely young. They had a bunch of Alien action figures. And they were my favorites. So I watched all the movies, even though I was, like, a real scaredy cat as a kid. For some reason, I just loved my violent, scary horror monster movies. Only from that specific series. If you showed me any other horror movie franchise, I would not sleep for a week. Oh, we can finally get... Ooh, this is my favorite item in the DLC. Sail Star. The next chest I open will contain 2 items. And those items will be of the sort that are appropriate for that chest. So what I would want to do is find a large chest of some kind. And then be guaranteed 2 at least green items. And if you get additional Sail Stars, it is possible to gain, like, 4 drops from a single chest. Stuff like that. This is the item that really can speed up the early game. Because you get bonus items. What I'm going to waste it on is this. So we get 2 artifacts of our choosing. I'm going to get the executive card first. Because I want the second equipment for a specific thing. I'm going to turn that into a gun that will instant kill the boss of the level. But first I have to get to that boss. I could summon it right now, but I'm not going to. I could even get a third equipment. So I really, really wasted that Sail Star. start giving myself more cash now. I love to put a stop hitting yourself build on the loader, because not only does the loader have a ton of health, but every time she hits something, she gains a shield. So in the early game, you are never going to be hurting for HP as the loader. There are new level variations added in the DLC, and the variation of this level is a nighttime version with, like, iridescent water, and it is truly gorgeous. I honestly think all of the new levels are really, really, really well designed visually, if nothing else. For the most part, the gameplay is pretty fun, although they are mostly of a sort that looks very architectural, brutalist, you would say. And the game kind of needs more architecture in it, because the vast majority of the levels are like nature and all sorts of uneven shapes and stuff. So it's filling a void, but I do prefer the nature levels. Previous DLC pack added one brutalist level, and that was honestly kind of enough. Anyway, this is, I think it's the Midas Shrine? The Halcyon Shrine. There we go. This will require us to feed it money. And we could stop feeding it money at any time, and we would still complete everything the shrine needs us to do. However, if we fill the shrine all the way, we will get better items when we defeat the boss, which is about to be summoned once the shrine is full. So it's sort of like a reverse of the teleporter event, where you wait for a while, you fill up the shrine, and then the boss appears. And the boss is always the same thing. It's this guy. The Halcyonite. A knight made of money. So basically it is just always the gilded variant. And it swings around a big heavy sword, and Loader is extremely good at killing it. And then it drops a bunch of items. The number of items it drops depends on how many of the notches of the shrine you filled up. So I'm going to get some stop hitting yourself items, for starters. And then this gas can, which will make my fire effects do more damage. Now, I don't have any fire effects, but the big flaw with Loader is that she is very heavily focused on single target damage. There's an item that allows us to do widespread damage of the fire variant. I'm going to get that item for myself. Start nuking people with fire. And it'll be extremely powerful fire because of the ignition tank. Alright. Immediately gun down the big guy, which drops a guaranteed boss item, which we can change into any boss item we choose. I am going to choose, for starters, Titanic Neural for a bunch more HP. Strengthen our greatest strength for starters. Now I guess I can look at one of the new items for fun, which would be the Unstable Transmitter. Once again, once we get to low HP, we just teleport to a random location. I'll show that off if I can recover my health. And then use the Shrine of Blood one more time. Already got an appropriate loadout to start one-shotting stuff with my default attack. Which is nice, because it's the only one without cooldown. My health is maxed out, so... There we go. Random teleport. Typically away from danger, because danger tends to be focused on you. There's the gasoline, so when stuff dies, everything catches fire. And... the medkit, because I intend to get myself hurt on purpose very often. The medkit heals you every time you get hurt. Okay, don't use that porter. Use this one. Bam. This is a new green portal, which takes us to a brand new series of levels. And like I said, super brutalist. You're not supposed to be able to get up there, which means there's probably some kind of, like, code for the teleporter to get artifacts and stuff. I always look up the artifact codes. I found a few of them naturally, and then that was that. Okay, new enemy type. There it is. I think they're called scorch worms or something. They have so much health. A silly amount of health. Oh, I should have looked for a better chest. That is my own fault. Get some armor. Nope, that guy's out of bounds. Thankfully, I was still able to punch him, because he was just barely out of bounds. Kind of surprised we haven't seen more glitches, but they're somewhat infrequent. Now, it's a roguelike, so you're going to play it for probably an hour or two at a time. And during that time, you are likely to see a handful of glitches, some of which could be severe. Some of them are well known and are being corrected as we speak. Okay, here's a new item. Gain damage for killing enemies in quick succession. This is the new common item that is considered extremely good. And pretty well balanced. Anything that ups your damage is going to be good and important. And then there's these antlers, which look really cool, and they have a chance to reflect incoming damage, which means when we get hit, the enemy that hit us gets hit. Stop hitting yourself. I'm fine with that item, and I love the way it looks on every character in the game, so no complaints there. So this is the level where we unlock the chef. There's a specific room in this level. I guess, sorry about the spoilers that are coming up, but it's pretty obvious. I found it out myself pretty quickly after buying the DLC. There's one room off in one corner of this level. And inside you can see the chef behind a pane of glass. And in front of the chef is a panel with 3 indentations. Those indentations are shaped like the cautious slug, the bison steak, and the blood vial infusion, which is a green item. And if you put those 3 items in those 3 indentations, you unlock the chef. sort of like how it worked in Risk of Rain Returns. But with fewer items. Those might have just been the items I was asked to get. Maybe it's randomized, I don't know. But when I found the chef, I just happened to have those 3 items in my inventory. Got kind of lucky. Looking for sparkles. I'm not finding this teleporter. This level does have a few narrow chasms and stuff that I've never really explored too thoroughly because I didn't have to. Like this time I have to. What I'm really looking for is any red item. Because I can transform it into a good red item, which will allow me to do Mega Punches much more often, which will be devastating. Yep, there we go. There's the 3 items in place in front of the glass pan. Once any red item drops, this character opens up big time. And the Sales Star helps out with that. If I use it properly, which I haven't so far. Check out the second floor. The drawback of the Artifact of Command is not listed anywhere in the game. It is decision paralysis, which I get really bad anytime I have the Artifact of Command active. Every single time you need to pick up an item, you want to pick up the best one. So you gotta scroll through the whole list. Okay. I've seen this more often. Which is on early levels. Getting elite versions of enemies that are too powerful for the level you're in. Instead of having to fight a regular boss. That is often much more likely to kill me than fighting a regular boss, so... That's one way to crank up the difficulty. Let's try this thing. Secondary skill use increases primary skill's next shot's damage. That's a mouthful. Which means basically if you alternate your secondary fire and your primary fire, you will deal more damage with the primary fire. That is very bad for most characters. There it was. Does it have a little, Yeah, there it is. You get an indicator above your health bar, indicating that you are in upgraded primary attack status. I think of all the new tracks, the boss fight theme for this level is the best one. And like I said, they're all really good. I don't know why there's like a death metal track in a monk monastery, but it's cool. I guess this is more power metal. Really, it was the double bass that was making me think death metal. Reborn Colony. The Sales Star does not get expended if you go to, like, a luck shrine. I think vending machines, the ones that can drop one of 3 items of your choosing. Pretty sure those don't expend the luck star either, the Sales Star. It has to be a chest. pretty much. Means any of these things would set it off. Oh, my precious blood. Another fun thing about greater wisps is that they continue to attack after they die. Until their body despawns, they remain dangerous. No idea why they were selected to be such irritating opponents. Here's a new shrine. And a new feature. I can inspect the shrine. An offering of soul reduces all living survivors' health by 30%, but revives all dead survivors and gives an extra life to all living survivors. Basically, your max HP drops 30%, you get an extra life, and it's best for multiplayer. Because it brings back dead people. Only seen small chests. This is a funky and jazzy theme song for a nice forest. I do kind of love the layout of this level. Guess I'm gonna have to waste my Sail Star, though. At least I can give myself some kind of advantage here. Oh, I just unlocked Purity. I forget what Purity does, but it is extremely difficult to unlock. You have to beat the game on Monsoon difficulty. This color scheme on Loader is also unlocked by beating the game on Monsoon difficulty. Well, let's try out Purity. Okay. I believe any random chance gets re-rolled twice, and you take the failed roll if either of them fail. Basically, I'm rolling with disadvantage in D&D 5e terms. So just enjoy this guitar solo while I look for chests. They're not forthcoming. I mean, I'm just going to open the small chest that's over here at this point. During the boss event. Okay, I got a green at least. Let's try old ukulele. Oh, reliable. The Beetle Queen is toast. I think they're going to put me up against multiple Beetle Queens, and even that I don't care about. She has a shotgun attack that can basically one-shot me from full health. As long as I keep moving, it won't hit me. Gilded enemy, don't care. Beetle Queen is just uniquely vulnerable to everything the loader does, so that is gonna be one crushed beetle. What else do I need for my build while I just stand here, take damage, and don't even care? Enemies dropping dead left and right because they're hurting me. Berserker thing is really good because you're going to be killing enemies in large groups all at once. Guess I'll stack up some rings. That way I get fiery explosions every time I do a Mega Punch. It might be time that I switch to a real equipment item. I think we've seen all the new common items. No, not this one. Extra damage at lower health. Danger Mario. Honestly, such a common sense item that I'm surprised it wasn't already in the game. Okay, Prime Meridian. This is already where the new final boss is. The new alternate path is actually quite short, and I never got a red, so I am probably going to get killed here. Unless I can make it to the top, while a bunch of meteors fall and do extremely high damage explosions. Wish me luck. And thank you for wishing me a happy birthday. I always lose control when I don't have multiple uses of my Power Fist. End up embarrassing myself. I'm pretty sure the only reason to kill these shrines is, for one, give yourself a big boost of armor. Which you very well might need, because the enemies around here are not meant to be fought. They're way, way, way too powerful. And for another, give yourself a better item when you actually do reach the top. Damn it all. It's a good thing Loader doesn't suffer fall damage. Normally if you fall and get replaced on the map, you lose the vast majority of your HP. It basically treats it as you taking maximum fall damage. Is the path upwards. Okay. Sick of this stone titan, but I cannot afford to fight it because I will be bombarded by meteors the entire time. I normally only go down this route towards the new final boss during a second playthrough, a second loop of the game, when I already have a large number of items. And have set up a build that basically cannot die. Didn't do that today. But once you get up here, you get a bunch of puddles, which will allow you to purchase new items. Items of your choice, because I have the Artifact of Command. So finally, I can Mega Punch more. Probably get more of these, but I only have so many green items to spend. It's 5 at a time. So I'm probably just gonna die to the boss. Don't have a lot of choice in the matter. That is life as a survivor. Falling out of a giant exploded spaceship. What are you doing up here? So I'm in extreme danger of activating the boss. But I can't risk fighting the boss. Okay. No, you're gonna hit the bouncy too, aren't you? I think I need to kill this guy. As annoying as that is. These are Gups, they have a lot of HP, and they spawn additional Gups every time they die. And I'm dead. Oh well. That's Survivors of the Void. I can get this rolling really quickly with a little bit of luck. And some good item drops. Oh, we got some void items, finally. Somehow didn't see very many of those at all. Good defensive item. Completely absorbs the first hit you take. Kill any boss we want very rapidly. Especially this boss, as noted. This ground slam attack is something that I unlocked very recently. You have to do a specific thing to get a particular artifact event to happen, and then complete that artifact event. Don't care too much about anything besides letting this portal open up more quickly. Actually, we need to go to the alternate route. Kind of wanted to see that final boss. But I have no idea where the alternate route is. I also think you have to beat the final boss in order to unlock the third new character, which I've done. But when you do beat the final boss, it gives you two choices. And I think I chose the choice that doesn't unlock the new character. I just sort of flipped a coin. And guessed wrong. So whatever, maybe I will play more of this game, get that final boss. Surely I'm bound to unlock the new character eventually. Can't be that hard. Little shortcut. No green portal. Been just about everywhere. Total waste of the Sail Star. That's the drawback. You gotta pay attention. And that is an extreme drawback for the likes of me. Okay, I'm pretty sure there's no green portal. So that settles that. You can spawn with no green portal. Good to know. I've seen that in a few games where you unlock something by doing the most ridiculous amount of things humanly possible. So as to render the unlock itself totally worthless. That's basically how Minion works in Twisted Metal Black. Just a quintessential part of my life. Falls into that very same trap. Okay. Guess I'm done with Risk of Rain 2 Survivors of the Void. It's fine. Hopefully it'll get a lot better in the near future. Until then, I am relatively satisfied with the purchase. It probably doesn't deserve 80% negativity. It just started to get dogpiled, and then the avalanche fell flat on its head. But I've had more fun with it than frustration. So, a light recommend for Risk of Rain 2 Survivors of the Void, at the cost of all my credibility.